Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU Audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University School of Translation Studies and Training, SOTST. Master of Arts, Translation Studies, Maths, English. First year. Second year. MTT 0 to 1 Translation Training. Block 1 The Copyright Act and Translation Rights. Unit 1 The Copyright Act, Structure and Significance. 1.0 Objectives. This unit pertains to the Copyright Act. By studying this unit, students pursuing an MA in Translation Studies will gain a concise understanding of the Copyright Act. After completing this unit, you will be able to analyze the concept of copyright, explain the methods of acquiring copyright and the assignment of copyright, and critically appreciate the concept and instances of copyright infringement and remedies. Exemplify the application of copyright in various domains. 1.1 Introduction. Copyright is a tribute to creativity. Every state and society respect their creators of the time, thus granting them specific rights. Recognizing copyright signifies encouraging creation. It also provides copyright protection for business investments. A nation's identity is reflected through its culture. Every society takes pride in its poets, writers, musicians, painters, and artists. Creativity enhances cultural richness, hence, the protection of creativity is imperative. The English term copyright has a historical background. Initially, when there were no printing machines, works were copied by hand. Following the invention of the printing press in Germany in 1436, the circulation of books increased. In England, the government was wary of content that might oppose Christianity or the state, making it mandatory for printers to obtain royal permission to publish. The University of Oxford Press was given the monopoly to print the Bible. The first statutory recognition of an author's rights came in 1709, when this right was termed copyright, the right to make copies. Today, this term also encompasses rights for presenters, broadcasters, photographers, painters, musicians, etc., thus expanding the scope of the term. In essence, this is a form of prohibitive right. The creator has the authority to prevent anyone from making copies of their work without permission. The primary right to reproduce one's creation belongs to the creator. Therefore, it is referred to as copyright. 1.2 Meaning of copyright. Here, we will consider the Copyright Act of 1957, applicable in India. Though named the Copyright Act, it encompasses other rights as well. Historically, copyright was limited to books and authors, but over time, it has included rights for performers, broadcasters, playwrights, musicians, singers, artists, filmmakers, sound recorders, and computer programmers. In Europe, the rights of authors are referred to as primary rights, while those of others are called secondary or neighboring rights, also known as derivative rights. Additionally, moral rights of authors are recognized. In India, all these are collectively termed copyright. These moral rights are referred to as the special rights of the author, making our terminology simple and convenient. In the context of books, copyright implies 1. Production in material form, including any literary, dramatic, or musical work. In material form, which now includes electronic media. 2. Making copies available to the public, distribution of copies to the public. 3. Public performance or communication, through media like radio or television. 4. Film or sound recording, production of films or sound recordings of the work. 5. Translation, translating the work. 6. Adaptation, such as abridgment, conversion, or turning a story into a play. 7. Translation rights, translators are also creators, hence, they hold the same rights over their translations as authors do over their original works. 1.3 Bundle of rights under copyright. According to the statute mentioned above, creators possess several rights collectively, known as copyright. These rights can be transferred entirely or divided into individual rights. 1. K. Wrote a novel in English and gave all publication rights to publisher P. 2. K. Divided the rights geographically, selling publication rights for America to P. the UK to F. and India to W. This division is valid. 3. K. Retained Indian publication rights and sold the rest worldwide to P. 4. K. Sold the right to translate the novel into Hindi to C. 5. K. Gave the right to convert the novel into a play to C. 6. K. Granted film adaptation rights to X. 7. K. Sold TV series adaptation rights to G. 8. K. Gave the right to abridge the work to C. 9. K. Sold electronic publication rights to D. In these examples, K. has split his rights into segments and transferred each part to different individuals, with each transfer being legally valid. 1.4 Works to which copyright applies. Copyright applies to 3 categories of works. 1. Original literary, dramatic, musical, and artistic works. 2. Cinematograph films. 3. Sound recordings. The first category includes 4 subcategories. 1. Literary. 2. Dramatic. 3. Musical. 4. Artistic works. It is important to note that the analysis of all 4 types of works under discussion hinges on the concept of originality. That is, each work must be original in nature. In legal terms, however, the meaning of original differs from its everyday usage. In the context of copyright law, originality does not imply the presence of novel or groundbreaking ideas. Rather, it simply means that the author has created the work independently and it is not a copy of someone else's work. There is no requirement that the work contain any minimum level of creativity or innovation. The essential condition is that it must not be a duplication or reproduction of an existing work. Originality, in this legal sense, does not necessitate that the work addresses an entirely unexplored subject or domain. A single idea, theme, or narrative can give rise to countless works. There is no copyright protection over ideas, theories, concepts, or events themselves. Copyright protects the expression of those ideas, not the ideas per se. Thus, no one holds a monopoly over a thought, plotline, or real-life incident. To illustrate, works based on the Ramakant, the story of Lord Arame, films following the common protagonist-antagonist-heroine structure, or photographs of the Taj Mahal, all originate from the same foundational ideas or subjects. Yet, such reuse is entirely permissible under copyright law. In this context, the term literary also warrants examination. The law does not assess or pass judgment on the literary merit of a work. A work may be considered of no literary value by literary critics or connoisseurs and yet still receive full protection under copyright law. Certain types of compilations or works that are generally not considered literary in everyday language, such as multiplication tables, railway timetables, diaries, or directories, are nevertheless classified as literary works in the eyes of the law. Therefore, within this legal framework, the term literary work is detached from its traditional association with the field of literature. In general, the law associates a literary work with three primary characteristics. First, it may convey information. Second, it may provide instruction or education. And third, it may offer pleasure or entertainment. A literary work need not fulfill all three conditions simultaneously. Even fulfilling one is sufficient for legal recognition. Copyright law aims to protect the creations that result from an individual's labor, skill, and investment. Such protection ensures that others cannot exploit these works for personal gain without authorization. In essence, the law acknowledges the intellectual and creative contribution of the individual by granting exclusive rights to control the use and dissemination of their original works. Examples of literary works: 1. A ready reckoner for tax calculation prepared by K, which helps taxpayers determine their tax liability easily. 2. An arithmetic textbook written by K. 3. Question papers for an MA in political science prepared by K for A. University. 4. A compiled textbook for 10th graders containing stories, excerpts from novels, essays, and poems, which K did not create but compiled and obtained permissions for the works. 5. A collection of STD codes for major Indian cities compiled and published by K. The first example, from the perspective of copyright law, is considered a literary work. The second, third, and fifth examples are also literary works. While in common usage, an examination paper is not typically referred to as a literary work, the law deems it otherwise. The purpose of the law is to grant each individual the right to prevent their work from being copied. This legal interpretation expands the definition of literary works. In the fourth example, the compilation that has been created is also regarded as a literary work, and from a legal standpoint, the creator is considered the compiler. In these examples, the creator has invested labor, utilized their knowledge, and possibly capital in creating the work. The law will protect the creator to ensure that no other person can exploit their work. Some further examples: 1. Slogans or phrases written by K do not receive copyright protection as they are too brief and their protection would hinder public expression. 2. A word coined by K also does not receive copyright. 3. K cannot claim copyright over his surname or family name. 4. K's translation of Surdas verses into English is an original literary work. Because the original works by Surdas are in the public domain, but the translation is K's creation. 5. K's commentary on a section of the Ramcharitmanas by Tulsidas is a literary work. 6. Letters written by K to a friend X reviewing new literary works. In the first example mentioned, slogans do not have copyright protection, granting monopolies on short, effective phrases would harm the public interest. Language is a public asset, a medium of expression for everyone, and this public right cannot be restricted. The same principle applies to the second example. In the third example, there is no difference. Surnames are not considered anyone's property. Anyone can adopt any surname, caste name, or nickname. In the fourth example, Surdas' compositions are in the public domain because more than 60 years have passed since his death. Therefore, his works are free from the constraints of the Copyright Act. Anyone can publish their verses. However, the translation of these verses by K is an original literary work and thus protected under the law as an original creation. The fifth example, where a commentary on a section of the Ramcharitmanas is made by K, follows the same legal logic as the fourth example, it is considered K's literary work. In the sixth example, there are two dimensions to K's letters. The expression within the letter is K's original work, and X cannot publish it. However, the physical letter, the paper and the text on it, belongs to X, who has the right to keep it and show it to others if necessary. Similarly, there is no copyright on book titles. Multiple books can share the same title. 1.5 First owner of copyright. So far, we have examined what copyright is and which types of works are protected by copyright. Now, we will consider who the owner of the copyright is. The basic rule under the Copyright Act is that the creator of the work is its first owner. However, in some circumstances, it's not clear who the creator is. Under the law, there can also be two or more joint creators. The Act defines the creator as follows. About a literary or dramatic work, the author of that work. About a musical work, the composer. About an artistic work other than a photograph, the artist. About a photograph, the person who took the photograph. About a cinematograph film or sound recording, the producer, and about a literary, dramatic, musical, or artistic work that is computer generated, the person who causes the work to be created. This is the general definition of authorship in common circumstances. Moving forward, we will delve deeper into this, focusing particularly on literary works. 1. K was appointed as an assistant editor for a monthly magazine. K was assigned the task of writing a monthly commentary on the previous month's national politics, which would be published in the magazine. Here, the copyright for the article prepared by K will belong to the magazine's proprietor, owner. 2. K and L were commissioned by their employer to study 7 temples of Kartikeya Swami in Tamil Nadu and write a book on their history, religious significance, architecture, etc. K and L wrote the book. The copyright for this book would belong to the employer because the book was written under a contract of employment. 3. K is a mathematics teacher at a school. K wrote a book for mathematics students. The copyright for this book would belong to K, not the employer. Because K's employment is for teaching in class, not for writing books. 1.6 How is the right gained? A question often asked is, how does one obtain copyright? The answer is quite simple. Every civilized nation recognizes certain human rights inherent to all individuals. These rights are bestowed from birth until death, and merely being a human is sufficient to claim them. Similarly, the moment an individual creates a work, the copyright for that work is automatically vested in the creator. No further action is required to claim it. As soon as a poet writes a poem or a writer composes a story, they become the first owner of the copyright. In some circumstances, when there is a dispute over ownership, the person claiming to be the owner must prove their ownership if they have registered their copyright. proving it becomes easier and more convenient. They can show the certificate issued by the registrar, which serves as prima facie evidence. The creator, owner, publisher, or any person with an interest in the work can apply for copyright registration with the copyright registrar. The application must be in the prescribed format, with specific details filled in, and the requisite fee must be paid. The registrar, after any investigation deemed necessary, will enter the details in the register and issue a certificate. The application form is specified in the rules, and currently, the fee for each application is 50 rupees. Generally, registration is completed within 90 days. If there are errors in the registration, like names, addresses, etc., the registrar can correct them. If someone believes an entry has been made erroneously or contains an error, they can apply to the Copyright Board for rectification, which will make the necessary corrections. 1.7 Assignment Delegation of Copyright. Creating a work is not enough on its own. Every creator aspires for their work to reach as many people as possible, only then can they achieve fame and financial gain. However, creators often lack the means for publication and marketing, as well as the experience in these areas. Therefore, they must forge a relationship with a publisher. The publisher invests in the printing and publication of the book and possesses a distribution network through which they can advertise and distribute the work to a broader audience. This is all done with the expectation of profit. It is through the synergy of the publisher and author that a work reaches its readers. However, if the publisher does not have a copyright, why would they invest their resources? This brings us to the answer regarding how copyright can be acquired through assignment. The first owner of the copyright can assign their rights. As previously mentioned, copyright is a bundle of rights. These rights can be assigned for a specific geographical area, for a particular language, for a specific edition, or for any other division as deemed appropriate. The publisher may compensate the author with a lump sum payment, a per page rate, or a percentage of the book's price. Alternatively, they may agree upon any other mutually decided compensation model. The percentage-based remuneration is generally not calculated on the printed price but rather on the net or realized price. For instance, if the printed price of a book is 100 rupees but it is sold to a distributor for 60 rupees, the author's royalty will be calculated based on the 60 rupee price. For a grant of rights assignment to be valid, the following conditions must be met. 1. It must be in writing. 2. It must bear the signature of the author or their authorized agent. 3. The work must be clearly identified. 4. The duration of the assignment must be specified, e.g., 10 years, 15 years, or for the entire term of copyright. 5. The specific rights being assigned must be clearly stated. 6. The geographical scope of the rights must be defined. 7. If a royalty is to be paid, its amount must be specified. It is important to note that 1. If the duration is not specified, it will be presumed to be 5 years. 2. If the geographical scope is not mentioned, it will be assumed to be limited to India. 1.8 Disputes related to assignment of rights. Jurisdiction over disputes concerning the assignment of rights lies with the Copyright Board. The process is straightforward and efficient. If a dispute arises regarding an assignment, the aggrieved party may file a complaint with the board. After conducting an inquiry, If necessary, the board issues an appropriate order. The board may also direct the payment of royalties or revoke the assignment if deemed necessary. If the assignee, the entity to whom the copyright has been assigned, does not make sufficient use of the assigned rights, and there is no fault on the part of the assigner, the board has the authority to revoke the assignment. For example, if an author, A, assigns the printing rights of their book to a publisher, P, but P fails to publish the book for 5 years, A may file a complaint with the board. In such a case, the board may revoke the assignment, as the assignee has not exercised their rights within the legally stipulated period. 1.9 Fair use. Copyright grants a form of monopoly, however, the law imposes certain limitations on it. While the author holds exclusive rights, the general public is also entitled to make fair use of a copyrighted work. For such use, prior permission is not required. The law explicitly outlines the types of activities that qualify as permissible and constitute fair use. The following examples help clarify this principle. 1. A. Reviewed a novel and included necessary excerpts from the novel in the review. This constitutes fair use. 2. A. Quoted passages from 6 different books for research purposes. This constitutes fair use. 3. A. Copied some poems for personal entertainment and reference. This constitutes fair use. 4. A. Wrote 25 songs. B. Organized an event where they performed A songs before an audience. This does not constitute fair use. 5. A teacher recited a poet's work while teaching students. This constitutes fair use. 6. A question paper included excerpts from poems. This constitutes fair use. Similarly, citing poetry in answers to exam questions is also considered fair use. 7. The Government of India published a notification in the Gazette. Be printed and distributed copies of it. This constitutes fair use. 8. A. Published a court ruling. This constitutes fair use. 9. A. Translated B.S. collection of all poems from Hindi to Oriya and published it. This does not constitute fair use. 1.10 Special rights of the author. The rights referred to as the special rights of the author under the Copyright Act are known as moral rights in countries such as the United Kingdom and the United States. Two rights remain with the author even after assigning their copyright. While the author may no longer have economic control over their work, these rights continue to exist. They are: 1. The right to claim authorship of the work. 2. The right to prevent distortion, mutilation, or modification of their work, especially if such changes adversely affect their reputation or honor. In such cases, the author also has the right to seek damages. Example: A assigns the publishing rights of their novel to a publisher, B. B must attribute the novel to A as the author and cannot credit anyone else. In this scenario, if B believes that altering certain dialogues and changing the novel's ending to a tragic one would make it more popular, A has the right to prevent such modifications. These rights are broadly classified as: 1. The right of attribution, the right to be recognized as the author. 2. The right of integrity, the right to prevent distortion of the work. Example: A writes a novel and grants B the rights to adapt it into a film. After the film is produced, A discovers that significant alterations have been made negatively impacting their reputation. In this case, A can take legal action to halt the film's release and may also claim damages. 1.11 Duration of copyright. Since copyright grants exclusive rights, it is generally accepted that it should have a time limit. For literary works, the duration of copyright extends for 60 years beyond the lifetime of the author. This means that copyright remains in effect throughout the author's lifetime and continues for 60 years after their death. After this period, the work enters the public domain, making it freely available for use by anyone. For example, the works of Bhratendu Harishchandra, Rabindranath Tagore, Prem Chanda, Jaishankar Prasad, and Subhadra Kumari Chauhan are now in the public domain, and any publisher may publish them. The 60-year period is counted from the 1st January following the year of the author's death, ensuring that the copyright always expires on 31st December of the final year. For works published under a pseudonym or those published posthumously, the 60-year period is counted from the year of publication. In the case of works created by multiple authors, the copyright duration is calculated from the death of the last surviving author. 1. 12 Copyright infringement and remedies. A copyright infringement occurs when an individual, without the permission of the copyright owner or in violation of the terms of a license, performs any unauthorized act, such as selling, distributing, displaying, or importing an infringing work. There are two types of legal remedies available for copyright infringement. 1. Civil remedies. Injunctions to prevent unauthorized reproduction, sale, or distribution. Damages, monetary compensation for losses. Accounting of profits, requiring the infringer to disclose and surrender profits made from infringement. The infringing copies may also be seized and become the property of the copyright owner. 2. Criminal remedies. Imprisonment for the infringer. Fines as a penalty for infringement. 1.13 Contract with the publisher for translation. If a translation is done purely for personal satisfaction and there is no intent to publish it, then permission from the author, if deceased, is not required. If the original work has entered the public domain, i.e., 60 years have passed since the author's death, translation and publication can be done without obtaining permission. However, if the copyright term has not expired and the translation is intended for publication, obtaining the original author's consent is mandatory. When a publisher assigns a book for translation, the translator should ensure that the contract includes the following provisions to avoid future disputes. Many individuals later claim that they signed the contract without reading it, which is an imprudent approach. In such cases, the law will not provide protection. The translator should carefully consider the following key points. 1. Verification of rights. Ensure that the publisher has the legal right to commission the translation. 2. Translator's credit. Confirm that the translator's name will appear on the book's cover. 3. Use of standard terminology. If the book belongs to fields such as science, humanities, or law, ensure that standard terminology, as prescribed by the Government of India, is used. This applies to Hindi translations. 4. Timeline for the first draft. Determine the deadline for submitting the first draft of the manuscript. 5. Publisher's review period. Confirm the time frame within which the publisher will review the first draft. 6. Final manuscript submission. Establish the deadline for the translator to submit the final manuscript. 7. Remuneration and expenses. Specify the translator's fee and the rate for calculating expenses such as typing costs. 8. Complementary and discounted copies. Determine the number of complementary copies the translator will receive and the discount available on additional copies. 9. Copyright ownership. Clarify whether the copyright of the translated work will belong to the publisher or the translator. 10. Pricing. Establish that the publisher will determine the price of the translated work. 11. Dispute resolution. Agree that any disputes will be resolved through arbitration. 1.14 Summary. Copyright is a recognition of creativity. Creativity contributes to the cultural and intellectual growth of any society, making its protection essential. In essence, copyright is an exclusive right, allowing the creator to prevent others from reproducing their work without permission. The creator holds the first right to make copies of their own work, which is why it is termed copyright. This right is governed by legislation known as the Copyright Act, which encompasses various other rights as well. Historically, copyright was limited to books and authors. However, over time, its scope has expanded to include performers, broadcasters, playwrights, musicians, singers, artists, filmmakers, audio recorders, and computer programmers. In the context of books, copyright refers to the right to produce physical copies, make them available to the public, publicly present them through media like radio or television, and translate or adapt them, such as abridging, modifying, or converting a story into a play. According to copyright law, translators are also considered authors, and they possess the same rights as the original creator. Under the Copyright Act, the creator of a work is its first owner. Every creator aspires for their work to reach a wider audience, as this leads to recognition and financial gain. However, authors often lack the means and experience for publication and marketing. Therefore, they need to collaborate with publishers who invest in printing, publication, and distribution. Publishers have established networks for book distribution, enabling widespread dissemination through advertising and sales, primarily for profit. It is through this collaboration between publishers and authors that works reach readers. To facilitate this, the first copyright owner, the author, grants certain rights to the publisher. This grant, license, can be restricted by geography, language, edition, or other conditions. In return, the publisher compensates the author either with a lump sum, a per page payment, a percentage of the book's price, or any other agreed upon arrangement. The licensing agreement must be in writing. Since copyright is an exclusive right, it is recognized that it should have a time limit. For literary works, the copyright term lasts for the creator's lifetime plus 60 years. Copyright infringement occurs when someone violates the terms of a license. Remedies for such infringement include civil actions, such as injunctions to prevent distribution or sale, claims for damages, and seizure of infringing copies. Criminal penalties may also apply, including imprisonment and fines. A translation done solely for personal use does not require permission. However, if the translation is to be published and the original work is still under copyright protection, the translator must obtain the original author's consent. When a publisher assigns a translation project, the translator must ensure that a formal contract is prepared. Signing a contract without reading it is not a prudent decision, and in such cases, the law will not offer protection. In conclusion, translators must safeguard their interests by carefully reviewing and signing contracts with due diligence.